Hakadosh Boker or Masechet Sanhedrin Daf Amud Aleph 6a1. We were talking about now in the Gemara Vechi Tema. Now, if you're going to come and you're going to tell me that Pligi Rabbanan Leder Rashbag, that there's going to be a machloka between Rabbanan, that the Chachamim, they're going to argue on Rashbag, and they hold that two people that come to the Deen, right? That Shmuel says that the halacha is, right, like Chachamim, that the Deen is a Deen. The Amar Rabbi Avu says Rabbi Avu, yeah, Shnaim Shedanu, he says when you have two people that they judged, Ledivre Akol, according to everybody, and Dinem Din, it's not a Din. So it's not going to be a Din. So he says, Gavra Karamit. He says, are you asking from one person, right, to another person? Meaning like this, how can you ask me on somebody else? You know, Rabbi A to Rabbi B. It could be that Rabbi A holds A, and Rabbi B holds B. So what are you asking? You could ask on the same person. You can't ask on a different person. So fine. The halacha is then like Chachamim. Okay, that means Chachamim argue on Rashbag, and they hold that the two people that judge, it is a judgment, right? And the halacha is like Chachamim. Fine. So Gufa Amar Rabbi Avu says Rabbi Avu, Shnaim Shedanu Dinem Amonot, two people that they come and they judge Dinem Amonot Divra Kol Dinem Din. It's not a din. So eight Rabbi Abba Rabbi Avu, ask Rabbi Abba to Rabbi Avu, Dan et Adin v'zika et hachayav. What happens if they were done the din and they were mezakeh the chayav or chayav et zakai v'timeh et taor tior et tameh ma she'asa asui u'mshalem mi beto. Whatever he did, he did. Now, when you say the words "whatever he did," what does that mean? That the psak was a good psak. The only thing is he has to pay from his pocket. Meaning that if he made a mistake, he's going to come and he's going to pay from his pocket. Yeah. So he comes and he says, "Hachamaskina." And what are we dealing with? He comes and he says, right? He says the kibluhu alayhu. What does it mean kibluhu alayhu? He comes and he says they accepted it upon themselves. Remember, if you guys remember, we said that if a person is going to come and they're going to accept it upon themselves, so therefore what happens is, right, is that he comes and he says like this. He says, right, when they accept upon themselves, they have to pay. Because what happens is that they accept the judgment. Because no, there was two judges here. Two judges. Right, but when they come and they're going to accept the judgment, right? So therefore, the second that a person, well, the truth is, it's who a din one. It doesn't matter. Basically, the second that you accept upon yourself this person to judge you, that's it. There's nothing what to talk about. So therefore, he comes and he says, but if they didn't, that's when you have the entire concept of what we spoke about, that it's not going to be a judgment. It is going to be a judgment. Fine. Okay. So says the Gemara. Yachi, if so. So he comes and he says, Yachi, if so, amay meshalemi beto. What does that mean then that he's going to pay from his house? If he made a mistake, he should be patur. Remember, what was the yisod? The yisod was, doesn't matter how many people are judging. If you accepted upon yourself this judge, doesn't matter whether it's one, whether it's two. So what happens? What happens is that if you accepted it, that's it, right? You don't have to pay if you made a mistake, but they accepted it. So therefore, what's the pshat over here? So he says, the amrulei, that they said, Dayant lan dide Torah. Did you judge us like a Torah? Which means they only accepted to judge according to the Torah. Right? Meaning that they only accepted upon themselves the Torah. Which means they didn't come and they didn't want him to come and start becoming patur. They said, whatever the Torah says, you're going to tell us. Now, the fact that he made a mistake, so what happens? So he has to pay from his pocket. Yeah. Now again, if he was an official bedin and there was three people, that's another halacha. But since here he's not, it's either one person or two people. So therefore he has to be mishalem beto, right? What?
And they kiblu alim.
Of course they kiblu alim.
So how do they know better than him?
What? Says the Gemara. Amal Rav Safra le Rabbi Abba, says Rav Safra to Rabbi Abba, the ta'abemai. What was the mistake that he made? Ilema the ta'abedvar mishnah. Right? If you're going to tell me that he made a mistake in a Dvar Mishnah, V'amar Rav Sheshat amar Rav Asi, says Rav Sheshat, the name of Rav Asi, Ta'abi Dvar Mishnah, Choser, you go back. Right? Which means, one second, what was the case? He made a mistake, but you don't retract. But just he has to come, he has to pay from his house. But why don't you just change the halacha? So he says, if he made a mistake in Ta'abi Dvar Mishnah, you completely uproot the entire judgment. So he says, Ela rather, he made a mistake in shikul adat. Now, by the way, you should know, even nowadays, we come and we use this principle that, for example, let's say you went to a rabbi and you asked him a psak, and he gave you a psak, and now you come to me. Now, if you didn't tell me that you asked another rabbi, so obviously I'm gonna paskin for you. But what happens if you come and you say, by the way, this rabbi said A. So therefore, right, once you said that, usually I cannot come and I could say anything else. But what happens if you made a mistake, which is talui bidvar mishnah? So Rav Ovadia says all the time that bidvar mishnah is, for example, let's say an Ashkenazi was paskening for Sfaradi like an Ashkenazi against Maran, not like a Sfaradi. So it's called bidvar mishnah. The second that it's bidvar mishnah, I could change it. I could uproot the first ruling of the first rabbi because he made a mistake bidvar mishnah. He made a mistake with something which is basically basics. Now again, Sfaradim and Ashkenazim, that was something basic. This is going against with Maran or not Maran. But if it's not 100% like this, meaning it's not Shitat Maran. So I'll give you the case. It was something crazy. I still remember until today. Somebody came to me, he goes, Rabbi, right? His wife had a cast and now she can't get it wet. So how long does she have the cast for? For 3 months. So basically what happened is that he asked an Ashkenazi rabbi, and the Ashkenazi rabbi said, sorry, chatzitza, you cannot do anything, kamarnu. Yeah, you can't do anything. So she couldn't go. So then what happened is he came to me. So I went and he told him, there's a Rav Ovadia that is matir, especially if it's going to be for 3 months, he's going to be matir. But I said, the problem is you already asked another rabbi. And once you ask another rabbi, I can't do anything about it. So here I wasn't able to do anything about it. Yeah? No. He was Faradi. The person that is Faradi.
The first rabbi.
It's not Shitav Ashkenazi. It's not Var Mishnah. It's not Mishnah. It's not something Maran and Rama. It's not Maran and Rama. This is not a black-white. This is already in the Acharonim. There, no, I apologize. I couldn't change it. He asked, come on. There's nothing what to do. אתה אומר למי? אתה אומר למי?
הרב.
מה זה הוא זה? הרב הזה הוא פוסק אשכנזי, והוא סובר א' ב' ג'. אין מה לעשות, אתה לא יכול לשנות את זה.
אבל לפעמים אתה מביא לו ויז'ן אחר של היתר.
First of all, it doesn't exist. Right? First of all, it doesn't exist. This rabbi was, Alav Shalom, he was a very big rabbi, and he's not going to change because of a Rav Ovadia Yosef. That's number one. Number two also, they don't need to change. Right? If let's say, for example, it's a machlok between Rav Wosner and Rav Moshe Feinstein. I pass like Rav Moshe Feinstein, you pass like Rav Wosner. Not because you're Sfaradi, you're going to go that. I'm sorry, it's two different. It's not a Dvar Mishnah. Dvar Mishnah is this is a Mishnah. What does it mean Mishnah? This is Shulchan Aruch Rama. You pass into the Sfaradi like the Rama instead of Shulchan Aruch. That's Tabi Dvar Mishnah. But anything to do with Acharonim, anything to do with that, Maran didn't explain anything. Maran didn't speak about such a case. And now you come and you say, no, but you know what? I want to be relying upon Heter A, and B, and C, and D. And now you come and you say, no, but I'm Sfaradi. You have to pass. No, I'm sorry. You asked the Ashkenazi rabbi. That's it. Right? I cannot change that. So this klal, which is Ta'ab Bidvar Mishnah, is still until today. Ta'ab, I cannot. Ta'ab Bidvar Mishnah means the person that makes a mistake in the actual halacha, shulchan aruch, and the Rama. If it's going to be shikul hadat, it does not work. So Rav Papa comes, he says, what is shikul hadat? Hechidami shikul hadat. Amar Rav Papa says, kegontre tanae utre amorae de pliga adade. He comes and he says, when you have two tanaim and two moraim that are arguing, velo itman hilchata lo kemor velo kemor. So exactly what we're saying. Meaning, there's a machloket. Now, it doesn't say, this is the halacha. Meaning for us, we paskin like Maran, that is the halacha. There's nothing what to talk about. So if you have Maran, and then you have the Rama. So obviously Ashkenazim go biyad Rama, and Sfaradim go like Maran. So if you came and you changed, that you're right. But if it's something which is a machloket afterwards, and it's 2 against 2, 1 against 1, doesn't matter how many numbers. But at the end of the day, it doesn't say the halacha is 100% like 1. The sugyan de alba aliba de minayu, and the sugyan is going more according to 1. But you did like the other one. That is ta'ud b'shikul hadat. But at the end of the day, even a ta'ud b'shikul hadat, I cannot retract it. Why can't I retract it? Because since at the end of the day, that means even though I've got more proofs to the other shita, the fact that it's a shikul hadat, meaning it's based upon the weighing of my my dat, meaning it's not black and white. It's you know what? I got it's like an opinion. There I cannot retract. So says the Gemara.
Remembers it right away.
What?
The judge.
No, we're not talking about the judge changing it. We're talking about somebody else changing it because of the judge, right? So says the Gemara, Lema ketanai. So why don't we just say that this actually is machloket Shmuel and Rabbi Avu is a machloket tanaim. Why? Bitzua. What is bitzua? Bitzua is a pshara, right? We're talking about a compromise. The compromise, we just said that it had to be bishlosha. Has to be 3 dayanim. That is the words of Rabbi mean. Chachamim say, what are you talking about? Pshara? I could even do with one. Why do you need 3 dayanim for a pshara? 3 dayanim you need for a betin, not for a pshara. Pshara is compromise. You could do even one. So says the Gemara, lechule alma makshina pshara ladin. According to everybody, whether it's Chachamim or Rabbi Meir, we're going to make this juxtaposition. We're going to be makish pshara to din. So my love be'akami palges. So isn't this a machloket? The more savar din b'shlosha, that one of them holds that din is going to be with 3, or more savar din b'shnai, and one of them says no, that you could even do it with 2, and therefore pshara, right, will also could be even by himself. Because if you're going to tell me that even a dayan could come and he could do it, right, with a dayan yechidi, whatever, so then that's it. So says the Gemara, no. Dechule alma, according to everybody, din b'shlosha. Really, be'emet, its din is going to be with 3. That's according to everybody. So what is the machloka between them? The more savar makshina pshara ledin, more savar l'moshe. The question is, do we make a kesh pshara to din or not? That's the question. Do we make a juxtaposition, right? The proximity between the pshara to din. Is pshara like din or not? Okay. So says the Gemara, lema tlata t'nai b'pshara, right? The more savar b'shlosha, umor savar b'shnayim, umor savar b'yachid. So he says, why don't we just say then that it comes out that there's going to be 3 shitot in pshara? Rabbi Meir holds 3. That was written mefurash. Rabbi Meir said, one more time, Rabbi Meir over there, it said, Dvitzuat bishlosha, divrei Rabbi Meir. That's 3. Dayanim. Right? 3 dayanim for pshara. Umor savar b'shnayim. Right? Ram Gamliel, Rashbag, Rabbi Shimon Gamliel, he comes and he says, it's going to be with 2. Umor savar b'yachid. More savar is the yachid. Because, one more time, Rabbi Meir and Chachamim is written mefurash there in the Braita, where it says, Bitzua bishlosha, Chachamim pshara is biyachid. Yeah? So he comes and he says, why don't we just say that there's going to be 3 different shitot? Right? There's going to be Rabbi Meir, Chachamim, and Rashbag also. So Amar Ravacha bered Ravika v'itim Rabbi Yema bar Shlamya. He comes and he says Ravacha, the son of Ravika, and some people say Rabbi Yema, the son of Shlamya. Man de Amar Trei afilu chanami. It's not true. It's not 3 different shitot. Because if you come and you hold 2, that means you also hold 1. That means really, be'emet, 1 could do it, and that's the shita of Chachamim. So it's not that there's Rabbi Meir, Rashbag, and Chachamim. No, there's Rabbi Meir and Chachamim. It's either 3 or 1, right? That's what it is. That means you could also do even 1. No. So why did he say 2? In order that it's going to be kilu that these 2 dayanim could testify what was the pshara. Meaning the reason why you needed 2 was not to make the pshara, because manashach, it's either 1 or 3. It's 2 witnesses, because these 2 dayanim could become witnesses and testify. By the way, this is the pshara. It's 2 dayanim, 2 people, 2 witnesses. That's what they did. Okay, fine. So Amar Ravashi comes in and says, Shema Mina, we learn from here, Peshara ena tzricha kinyan. We learn from this braita that this is a machlok between Rabbi and Chachamim, that pshara does not need a kinyan in order to come and to be mitchayev. Meaning, the second that they both agree, you're doing the pshara for us, kaddish. You don't say, 1 second, yeah, but I didn't make a kinyan. I didn't make a form of acquisition to come and to accept upon myself. Nowadays, we already said they do a kinyan. You know what the kinyan is? They write a document. They sign an arbitration agreement. And in the arbitration agreement, it's written kaddish. The second that you accept, the second that we give the agreement, it's a done deal. You could take, by the way, that piece of paper to court, and the court will not accept it, meaning that they will accept the arbitration agreement. That's how powerful the arbitration agreement is, right? That they make it, right? Even the legal court. The legal court accepts that which the Bedin does because they make him sign an arbitration agreement, and therefore the guy could go, you know what, I'm going to take it to the court. Take it to the court. All he has to do is take out the paper. Come on, no. There's nothing what to talk about. We already made an agreement. Yeah? So he says, because he already went to arbitration. So he says, Pshara does not need a kinyan. If you're going to tell me right now, tzricha kinyan, that it does need a kinyan, leman da'amar, according to the man da'amar, tzricha tlata, that you need 3. So he comes and he says, lamali, why do you need 3? Tiske betrei, it should be enough. 2, velikim neminen, just make a kinyan, and that's it. The hilchata, but the halacha is, Pshara needs a kinyan. You need a kinyan, and therefore, not like Ravashi, but rather you does need a kinyan, and that's why I told you that we do nowadays, right, that we make a kinyan. Fine. Next, Tanu Rabbanan. We learned to the Braita. Keshem shadayam bishlosha, bishlosha, kach bitzua bishlosha. Just like din has to be done with 3, so to pshara is going to be done with 3. Okay, Vav Amud Bet, 6b. Nigmar Adin, right? And if already was Nigmar Adin, they already came and they said, this person is Chayav or this person is Zakai, you're not going to make a Pshara anymore, right? Which means that the second that they already gave the judgment, that's it. Okay, fine. Sarmash Bankash Siman. Remember, many times the Gemara is going to come and going to give you different simanim to remember what is going on. So if you actually paid attention, look in the footnote. The footnote says the Samech of Sarmash is a Yosea Gilile. The Resh is a Eliezer. Right? The Mem is Rabbi Meir. The Shin is Yoshua. Right? The Bet is Rabbi. Right? The Nun is Rabbi Shimon ben Asiyah. Right? Then it's going to be Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish, Rabbi Yoshua. Each one, fine. So now it says like this. We're going to start. Rabbi Eliezer benosh Rabbi Yosea Gilile Omer. Rabbi Eliezer, the son of Rabbi Yosea Gilile, says, Asur livtzoa, you're not allowed to come and to do a pshara, right? Even before listening, right, to the Tanot, but rather v'chola botzea, right? Adezechoteh. Meaning, what are you doing? Psharot. Do according to the Torah. And therefore, if you're going to come and you're going to make a compromise, you're a sinner. Yeah, mamash, you're a sinner. Right? Why? Do according to the Torah. And if you come and you're going to alavar, you're going to praise, right, the botzea, the one that does pshara, right? This is the concept that we spoke about. You remember about that if a person comes and he blesses Hashem on doing an avirah. So it says, and that's what it says, Hashem. Right? What does that mean, botzea niyetz berech Hashem? If you're going to come and you're going to do an avirah and you make a bracha on it, right? So for you, it's minaetz, it's a disgusting thing. What are you doing? You have to go mamash according to the halakha. Right? We don't do psharot kaele. Shneimar ki hamishpat leElohimu, the mishpat is for HaKadosh Baruch Hu, v'chem Moshe Yomer, yikov adin et tahar. Okay, that is that. So he says this is the opinion of Rabbi Eliezer ben Rabbi Yosea Gilile. So he says, אבל Aaron, but Aaron הכהן was אוהב שלום ורודף שלום, שים שלום בין אדם לחברו, שנאמר בזה פסוק תורת אמת הייתה בפיו ועוולה לא נמצא בשפתיו, בשלום ומישור הלך איתי, ורבי משיב מעוון. So basically, what's happening is that again, obviously, it comes out that according to Aaron Cohen, it sounded like that he wasn't doing that, right? That he was doing much more of a pshara. Okay, right? He was trying to make them. The truth is, the psak halacha nowadays is that we do pshara karov ledin. Pshara karov ledin means at the end of the day it is a pshara, but it is close to the din. Meaning, meaning like this. If I'm arguing with you, and let's say I'm saying you owe me 100, and you're saying you don't owe me 100, whether it's a damage, whatever it is, right? And we come to Bedin. So what's a pshara? It's very simple. You don't need a rocket scientist. You do 50-50, right? So I don't need a dayan for that. I could get any Joe Schmo, right? Ure Bakar, and he's going to tell you, okay, you're saying that you owe him 100. He's saying you don't owe him anything. So fine, so 50-50. Chazak Baruch. No. We first have to do karov ledin, which means let's look at what would the halakha be. If the halacha is really be'emet that he would be chayav the full 100, so therefore when we make the pshara, even if I'm not going to obligate him the 100, but I'm going to make it very close to that. So it could be maybe I'll obligate him 80, maybe I'll make it 75, but I'm not going to do it 50 because that's not karov ledin. That was just stana pshara. And let's say it was going to be completely patur according to the halacha. So maybe I'm going to obligate him 25, right, or something like that, but I'm not going to make it 50. But that's not a real pshara. So that's why it's basically a pshara karov ledin. Now I did hear that the reason why that is actually done, right, and one of the reasons why is everyone has actually left happy. Because at the end of the day, remember, when I come to Bedin, one person is going to win and one person is going to lose. The winner is always happy. The loser is always sad. But now that you're doing pshara karov ledin, the person doesn't feel exactly because at the end of the day, okay, fine, he lost, he got the 100%, but the guy is something there. Yeah, it's like that you didn't lose 100%. You know what it is? That's the Yetzer Hara. The Yetzer Hara many times, right, is that if you don't lose 100%, so you don't feel bad. Okay, Rabbi Eliezer comes and he says, Haresh Gazal, 1 second, Haresh Gazal se'ah. Imagine right now a person comes and he steals a se'ah of chitim, of wheat. So he steals a measurement of wheat, he grinds it, he bakes it, he takes off Rafshat Chala. How does he make a bracha? Yeah, says the Gemara, En ze mevarech, hela min ha'etz. Right? That's what it's written. Right? Meaning if you come and you steal, and then you're a chassid, now you're taking off the Frashat Chala. Yeah. That's something else. Right here, we're talking about that obviously you stole. Right? So this is a shita of ubotzea berech nietz Hashem. Another one, another shita of this pasuk. So he comes and he says, Rabbi Meir omer lo neemar bitzua botzea ela keneged Yehuda. Right? This botzea was keneged Yehuda. Shneimar this week's parasha. Vayomer Yehuda elechav mabetza ki na'arog et achinu. What are we going to gain, right, when we're going to kill our brother? Right? So therefore the betza, right, that's a kol botzea, that's coming from Yehuda. So if you're going to come now and praise Yehuda, what he just did, what does that mean? That means even though technically Yehuda Kilu saved Yosef because he took him out of the pit and they didn't kill him, but you're not going to say Kol HaKavod, look what you did. He said you sold him to the Yishmaelim. You're going to tell him Kol HaKavod. So that if you praise Yehuda, ubotzea berech nietz Hashem, right? That's an abomination to Hashem. Third explanation. Rabbi Yoshua ben Korcha omer, mitzvah livtzoa. There's a mitzvah to do bitzua between the pshara between the two ba'aledin. He says, right? That means according to him, this is before the Gemar Din, obviously, and not afterwards. So he says, Shnemar says the pasuk, emetu mishpat shalom shiftu b'sha'arechem. This pasuk is actually brought down in the end of the first perek of Pirkei Avot. Emetu mishpat shalom shiftu b'sha'arechem. Right, that the world is going to be sustained upon these three things. So he says over here, what does it mean now, mishpat shalom? How do you do mishpat shalom? So he says, "Va'lo b'makom sheyesh mishpat en shalom, uvimkom sheyesh shalom en mishpat." So he says, "Ela ezu mishpat sheyesh bo shalom." This is what I just told you right now. Ve'omer ze bitzua. This is a bitzua. Why? Because the fact that it makes peace because he's not 100% a loser. And by the way, if you remember, we brought down this yesod of the Yetzer Hara. The Yetzer Hara, many times he comes and he fights against us, and we thought that we won, and really, Bemet, we lost 100%.
Always.
But the Yetzer Hara makes you feel that you won, right? So what was the mashal? The mashal is brought down in Bereshit Rabbah to do with the dogs in Romi. What happened was there were dogs in the marketplace, and they were always beside the bakers, and they were making themselves sleep. So the baker was always looking and always, making sure that the dogs don't come and start stealing food or stealing, from the bakery and take off. What happens? The dog, all of a sudden, when he realizes that the baker is a little bit, not 100% on top of things, what happens? He jumps, he knocks down the entire, the entire tray. He grabs one and he goes for the run. So obviously the baker starts running after him, but the baker will never catch him. So the baker comes, right? He ran, he comes back, he picks everything up, he counts everything. It was only one. It's okay. It was only one. So says the Chavetz Chaim, and there's also Chaim Shmulevitz, they both say, says, one second. What did the dog want? The dog only wanted one.
Just give him one.
No, but not give him one. If he only wanted one, what are you saying? You're appeasing yourself. You're saying, you know what? It was only one. So, okay, at least I didn't lose. Why? He only took one. But he only wanted one. That means he won 100%. The only thing is, the Yetzer Hara comes and he says, you know what? No, it was only one. Don't worry about it. Kilu, that's the way it is. Okay? So fine. So says the Gemara. Yeah? Ve'omer ze bitzua. V'chem beDavid. That's also David. Who omer, v'ahi David oseh mishpat u'tzedakah lechol amo. He would come and he would do mishpat u'tzedakah to everybody. V'alo kol makom sheyesh mishpat and tzedakah mishpat. Eleze u'mishpat sheyesh bo tzedakah ve'omer ze bitzua. This is the bitzua. The pshara is considered the mishpat shalom. So says the Gemara, Atan like Tanakama. So these words are coming like the Tanakama, Rabbi Shimon Krucha. Because obviously, right, according to Shita Tanakama, right, this is Rabbi Elazar ben Osher, Rabbi Yosef Galilei, right, he says you're not allowed to do bitzua. So therefore he's coming and he's doing it in another way, obviously, right, because he has to explain that it's, one more time, how do we start off? We started off the first opinion of this Samech, Rabbi Yosef Galilei, right, Rabbi Eliezer, the son of Rabbi Yosef Galilei says, it's a sur livsoa. So obviously he doesn't hold of this, what we just said right now, obviously. Okay? Fine. Then it says, so now when David was coming and done at Adin, זיקת הזכאי וחייב את החייב, וראה שנתחייב עניים בממון, ושילם לו מתוך ביתו. He says, how does he explain the pasuk? One more time. According to the Tanakama, he said that you're not allowed to do bitzua. You're not allowed to do pshara. So according to him, if you're not allowed to do pshara, so how do you explain the pasuk when it says, "Vayi David oseh mishpat u'tzedakah"? Mishpat u'tzedakah, we just explained mishpat u'tzedakah means you're doing pshara. Because that's mishpat, but it's also tzedakah. right? Why? Because at the end of the day, they're going to come out both happy. But according to David Melech, right? I mean, according to the other Tana that he says you're not allowed to do a pshara. So for how do you do? What was David Melech doing? He says no. You know what David Melech was doing? David Melech was doing 100% din. When it came out that a din was against an ani, so let's say the ani was chayav money, David Melech would pay out of his pocket. That was mishpat tzedakah. It wasn't he was doing a pshara and therefore that is mishpat tzedakah. He was doing mishpat, but when the mishpat came against the ani, he did the tzedakah. What was the tzedakah? He would pay for himself. Right? One second. He says, "V'shilem lo mitoch beto," and that is mishpat tzedakah. Mishpat lezeh utzedakah lezeh. Meaning, we thought mishpat tzedakah is to both people. Saying no, mishpat to one and tzedakah to the other. Mishpat lezeh shiksi lo mamon utzedakah lezeh shilem lo mitoch beto. Right? And then obviously that's what it says also to David Melech, right? With this thing. Right? Hold on to your question for 1 second. Right? 1 second, guys. Right? So Kashya le Rabbi. So says the Gemara. 1 second. Rabbi didn't make this dirasha. He says, "Hay lechol amo laniim ibayle." 1 second. What does it say in the pasuk? Vayi David oseh mishpat utzedakah lechol amo. It wasn't only just to anim, but according to the way that you just explained the pasuk, it's mishpat. That's how David HaMelech was paskening, like mishpat. And then he was also doing the anim, but anim only to tzedakah was only to anim. He was doing it to lechol amo. Yeah, so how does that work then? So he says, "Kashi l'Rebbe lechol amo la'anim ibayle." So answers the Gemara, "Ela Rebbe omer," but Rebbe says, "Af al pi shelo shilem mitoch beto." Even if he didn't pay it, it was still mishpat utzedakah. Mishpat lezeh utzedakah lezeh. Mishpat lezeh shechzil lo mamono utzedakah lezeh sheotzi gezelo mitachet edo. He says it's not like what Ben Chavi. 1 second. Does it look fair?
No.
I just came and I just ruled against you. Right. You're be'emet, you're chayav to pay. And what happens? Take out the money. So you're right. I did tzedakah, misken, he's an ani, anything that you want. It's not really right. So he says, you know what? You're right. It has nothing to do with that he was paying out of pocket. He didn't pay anything out of pocket. You know why it's mishpat tzedakah? And again, it's to two different people. Because if you're saying mishpat tzedakah, that's a pshara. It's mishpat lezeh, utzedakah lezeh. Mishpat lezeh, because I'm giving him the, how do you call this? I'm giving him the ruling, meaning I'm giving him back his money. That's the mishpat lezeh. Tzedakah, I'm doing tzedakah because I just helped him in this world. Because if he didn't pay back, what is it considered? He did gezel. So now what happens is I just did tzedakah for him. Because by me coming and ruling that Be'emet is going to be chayav, I just did him the biggest tzedakah in the world. But now he doesn't have to come back as a gilgul and start paying it back and start doing all these things. Why? Because right now he paid back that which he needed to. If not, then it's gezel. Okay?
זה לא בג"ץ.
Rabbi Shimon ben Menassia Omer, Rabbi Shimon ben Menassia comes and he says, Shnaim sheba'u lefanecha aledin. Two people come in front of you to din. Ad shelo tishma divrehen, until they didn't say their words. Or mishetishma divrehem, v'yata yodea lechan dinote. Or you heard it, but you still don't know where it's going to incline. Atarashai lomar la, and you could still tell them to bitzo. Go make a pshara. Mishtishmihu divrehem, but once you heard it, and you know where it's going, you're not allowed to tell them anymore. Tzu vitzu. Shneimar, it says in pasuk, poter maim reshit madon velifne hitkala hariv netosh. What does that mean? If you come and you wanted to put shalom between two different people, that's basically poter maim, right? Which means that you're coming and you're pouring water. That means you're calming down the situation. That you could do with a pshara. So that you could do a reshit madon. Reshit madon means at the beginning of the merivah, at the beginning of the fight, right? Before you come and do it. But ולפני התגלה הריב נטוש, that's קודם שנתגלה הריב. But once אתה יכול לנטושו. But משנתגלה הריב, once the riv already came out to light, אי אתה יכול לנטושו. You can't take it out anymore with the pshara. Meaning the pshara could only be done at the beginning. Right? At the beginning. So basically, two people come to the bedin, they start saying, you know what, guys? Go, and by the way, you should know, להבדיל אלף הבדלות, until today, they do this also in secular courts. You don't know how many times it happens in secular courts that they'll come and they'll say, you know what? You guys are arguing, even before continuing arbitration. And then, the lawyers, they come, they go for it. And then if it does, then they'll come back. Or if they already made up shara, so then they come back and, that's it, we're done. That's it. So they do that even until today. There's Shakish Amar, Shakish comes and he says, Shnaim sheba'u ladin, when you have two people that come to judgment, right? Echad rach ve'echad kasheh. One of them, he's a bal merivah, and he's bothering the dayanim. So the Dainim, they don't want to, and the other one is a softie, right? It happens all the time. You have a softie, and then you have one of these guys so ad shelo tishma divrehen, or mishetishma divrehen. Whether it's before or it was already, but you don't know where the din is going to be. You could say, I could, I forgot the word in English. Huh? Okay. So basically, it's recusal. So basically, the Shakish comes and he says, before they testified, or even if they did testify, but we don't know where the judgment is going, the judge could be Yidu recusal. He could take himself out of the case, right? He says, En ani nizkak lachem, shema nitchayev chazak, v'nimsa chazak rodfo. You know why? Because then this guy's going to come and he's going to just go after them, right? I once heard that there was a Dayan, right? He was an Av Beddin in New York, right? That he went and he there was I think it was like a money matters. He went against one of these guys, and these guys was so I don't want to say what he was, but basically, right, because he went to his car, he came back with a baseball bat, and he smashed all the computers, window. Don't ask what the guy did. Like mamash, the guy went crazy. So the same thing. He says nimsa chazak rodfo, but mishetishma divrehen. Once you come and you hear the words, and you know exactly where they're going, then you can't say you're not allowed to be afraid of anybody.
Even for pikuach nefesh, if the guy's crazy,
no, the guy's going to kill him. No, but I'm saying, but meaning that even if he's going to be chazak and he's going to start, driving him crazy, but we're not talking about, mamash pikuach nefesh. We're talking about, somebody in here. Okay, fine. Rabbi Yoshua ben Korcha Omer. Rabbi Yoshua ben Korcha comes and he says, "Minayin letalmid sheyoshev lifnei rabo v'ra'az zechul la'ani v'chova la'ashir minayin shelo yishtok." How do we know that if you have a talmid that is in front of the Rebbe, and what happens is the talmid comes and he sees a zechut for the ani and a chova for the ashir, right? Now it appears to him that the Rebbe didn't actually see it. He didn't actually realize what went on. So minayin shelo yishtok. How do we know that he shouldn't come and keep quiet, and he should actually come and say it to the Rebbe in order that? 1 second, I have to say it. Don't be afraid. This guy's a rich guy. This guy doesn't matter. Rabbi Chanin says, right? Taguru, it means to go into the words. What does that mean? But that's also asur. Okay? So he comes and he says like this. He says, so he says, 1 second, the Meidin should know who they're testifying about, which means they should look as if that they're testifying, right, with a Kadosh Baruch Hu kiviyachol. So if they're going to testify something sheked, and they're taking out money on sheked, mamash, they're matrichim et Kadosh Baruch Hu, because now Kadosh Baruch Hu has to bring him back the money. Imagine you have two witnesses, right? They come, and they go to Bedin, and they testify falsely. So they just took out money. What did they just do? They just caused that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has to give back the money to this guy in another way. So they were matriach et HaKadosh Baruch Hu shelo kadin. So that means they have to know, right? Yodim mi en meidin, velifne mihem meidin, mi atid li para mehen, and who's going to pay them back? Shneimar ta'amedu shnei anashim asher alayim ariv lifnei Hashem. The dayanin yodin et mihem danim, and the dayanim also have to know who's the ones, right? That the kilu they're danim et HaKadosh Baruch Hu himself, velifne mihem danim in front of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and who's going to pay them back if they're going to be noten mishpat? Shneimar Elohim nitzav b'adat el. The same halacha is going to happen to all Yoshafat. Omer, it says over there that he made the shofetim, right, and he told them how to do it. Omer v'yomer l'shofetim re'uma atem osim ki lo le'adam tishpetu ki la'Hashem. He comes and he says, realize you're not judging for a person. It's kiviyachol, you're judging Hashem. Shema yomar dayan mali betzar hazeh. Maybe the dayan is going to say, you know what? Why do I need this bichlal? Why do I need all? Tamul omar v'imachem bedvar mishmat. Asum mishpat right lefi mashi imachem. What does that mean? With your hearts. Right? And therefore, according to the Ta'anot and the Rayot, right? En lo ledayan ela ma she'einav ro'ot. Why? Because the dayan only has that which his eye sees. At the end of the day, and that's why, by the way, when I quoted beforehand the Mishnah Berurah, the Shmirat HaLashon, the Chavetz Chaim, he speaks about it because he says many times it happens. A guy comes out of Bedin and he says, the rabbis were wrong. And look, there for sure it's like me and this and that. And he goes back and forth and back and forth. And really, Be'emet, we don't realize that it's not true, right? The only thing is that we do have to understand that how do you call this? That that at the end of the day, that the dayan would only judge according to what he sees. So the same thing over here, that's what he has. Fine. Says the Gemara,
must check.
Says the Gemara, what is the case of Gemardin? Amar Rav Yehuda Rav says Rav Ish ploni ata chayav That is called Gemar Din. Gemar Din is the verdict. So the verdict is this person's chayav, this person is zakai. Amar Rav says like Yeshua ben Kolcha that it's a mitzvah livtzoa. That means it's a mitzvah, meaning not that it's a sur. Remember, the first shita was that you're not allowed to do pshara. So the mitzvah, the halacha is like Yeshua ben Kolcha that it's a mitzvah to do pshara. So says the Gemara, any is it so? He says Varavuna tamideh the Ravava. Ravuna was the tamid of Rav. When he needs to come in front of Ravuna, Amalu, he says, what do you want? Do you want judgment or do you want pshara? Right? Meaning he would give them a choice. Do you want din or do you want pshara? So my mitzvah, nami de kamar Yeshua ben Kolcha. So what does it mean also the mitzvah? Mitzvah lememra lehu. It's a mitzvah to tell them. Idina ba'etu pshara. Do you want din or do you want pshara? That's the mitzvah. The mitzvah is that you have the choice, right? You ask them, what do you want? And that's what it means that it's going to be a mitzvah.